Hello, my name is Andrew Stothert. I'm the Chief Executive of a company called Brand Vista, which is a customer experience consultancy, and we've been going for about 20 years, and I've been asked just to say a few things that might help people through this extraordinary and very challenging times, and I hope I have something sensible to say. I've been working now for 5 decades, so mine is more of a reflection on what ideas, thoughts and principles I've kind of developed over that period of time. The 1970s, I left school in 1976, lovely summer, but unfortunately not very good on the university results, so I went straight into work, and I worked in a fizzy pop factory for my dad. And I made fizzy pop, I distributed fizzy pop, I sold it off the back of lorries, and ended up in the marketing department, and did that in the 1980s. I went down to London, as all sort of young men did at that sort of period, and I joined what was then known as the University of Advertising, called J. Walter Thompson, and got a very good job there. Really, I went to London not for the job, but I'd met this amazing woman, Amanda, who became my wife, so that was my first career move, and a very good one it was too. We were then headhunted back to bars to work up with R and Brew and my father again, and of course that was down to the fact that we'd had his first grandchild, so again not a lot of thought in my career planning path. And then J. Walter Thompson came back and dragged me back into their fold to run the JWT in Manchester, which is a retail and below the line agency, which I did for 10 years. And towards the end of that, I met this extraordinary man called Gary Moss, and he and I really kind of felt that life was changing, the world of advertising, the Mad Men days were over, and we'd been working with all sorts of people, one of which is Nick Varney from Merlin, who runs Merlin Entertainment, and we kind of all worked out that really brands weren't being delivered by advertising, they'd being delivered by the experience that the organisation provided its customers. So with 4 children in education, and from moving from a Range Rover and a very large salary to zero on day one, so risk is an interesting part of what I'll talk about later. I decided to leave, and the day I resigned, I popped back into see Amanda, my wife, and told her that I had actually finally gone and resigned, and the only thing she was concerned about was whether the company television had to go back. So I think with that kind of confidence and kind of unquestioning support, we did it, and 20 years later here we are, in the most extraordinary time ever. And for me, there are probably 7 or 8 learnings that one has accumulated over 5 decades that hopefully can give you some view that whilst all around is pretty dark at the moment with very few rays of sunshine, there are things that we can all do and principles we can all adopt that certainly have helped me through a lot of chaos and a lot of craziness, but nothing quite of this scale. I think the first one is as I mentioned earlier, is about risk. And looking back on some of the big decisions that I've made in the past, at the time they're terrifying, but now you look back and you go, what on earth was I worried about? If you've done the work, if you've done the right kind of research, you've thought about things long enough, you've written stuff down, you've bashed stuff around friends, you've found other pieces of stimulus from lots of other marketplaces, and you're not very narrow band, then you're going to make a half decent decision, and then you just got to get down and work at it. Nothing comes easily nowadays, and it's going to be tough, but there will be opportunities, and those are the things that we were looking for. In the start of Brand Vista, nobody knew what customer experience was. They all thought it was customer service, and quite honestly, we spent the first few years shouting down a very dark, long tunnel with nobody listening to what we were doing, apart from 1 or 2 people who we of course would say we were remarkably inspired, but I think they were just deeply intelligent and had got there before us, and we were just manifestly delivering what they thought should be done. But God bless them for for looking after us, really. The thing about risk, though, is the biggest risk for me, anyway, is not doing things. Is to say, no, I'm fine, I'm going to stay here, I'm all right, because the world around you is changing at a pace that we can't imagine. It's going to change again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And if you need to understand things like coronavirus and all these sorts of things, then reading books like Darwin's Origin of Species and The Update, which is almost like a whale, are interesting books. They're heavy books, but we are permanently evolving. So risk is about not doing things rather than doing things. And I think also the other thing which used to terrify me, but now I'm kind of used to it, is number two is don't run away from things. They won't go away. They still are there. They just need sorting out. And usually in my experiences, if you run at something and you really take it on, then it's over. If anything else, it's over quickly. But you tend also to be able to make it up and see how you sort of sort it out going along and be flexible with it. The third one is about making decisions. Making decisions is interesting, I think, because everybody wants this bravado, oh, I'm a decision maker and all those sorts of things. And actually, I think decisions tell you when they're ready to be made. You've got to listen, you've got to learn, you've got to absorb information, you've got to really look around what you're doing. I mean, Ayrton Senna used to say that the past is merely technical data, it's what you do with it that is the future. And that's kind of okay in that kind of high level engineering world of Formula One. But that's the same for all of us. If we've got enough information, if we've been broad enough in our reading, then you will get a signal that says now the decision is ready to be made. And that's one of the great things my father taught me, actually. One of the many great things my father taught me is just don't rush into decisions until you've got all of the facts there. The thing I like the most is my next thought, which is people, really. Is to treat customers as people, not as revenue sources, not as segmented revenue sources and, oh, we're going to do this and that and whatever. Just treat them as people. They're human beings. They have their same worries and concerns, which they do bring to work. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're in business to consumer or business to business. People are people, and the more you can understand their needs and unmet needs, whether those are within business or outside business, it doesn't matter, is treating them as people will always benefit you. It doesn't matter whether it's your colleagues or your friends, whatever it is, they are all vitally essential elements of kind of doing business, because our top three clients we've known for over 30 years, and they've continued, and then we've met new people within their businesses, and those relationships have generated, we've nurtured and mentored young, very, very impressive individuals into their businesses by just having another perspective. And mentoring for me is one of the most rewarding elements now of my decrepit and ancient age. And as part of that is always being true to your values and your principles of how you approach it. Another great saying my old man used to have was, a principle is not a principle until it costs you money, and there's nothing more sure than that. And if you don't know what your values are, you can always write them down, but actually we all should know what our values are. You should stick to them, even if it says it tells you when to say no as much as when it sort of says yes. That to me is critically important, and values at this time are real, and people will spot them. We're becoming a slightly more sort of, I don't know whether it's permanent or not, but we're a more sensitive bunch at the moment because of our frailties and the exposure to this terrible coronavirus. It's exposed our underbelly, if you like. Then finally, well, not finally, but I would also say don't plan for 100%. Do not keep planning and try and get everything right, get every corner, every square, every little piece of the engine 100% of whatever you're doing, because you will not get there. You'll spend all your time trying to do that, and then the opportunity will have gone. get it about 80%. I mean, I always think Pareto is a really great situation, whatever it is, theory. Is 80% about right, and then what you do is you iterate and you evolve and you build things as you go along, and that's really, really sort of powerful. And ultimately, all of that comes down to the fact that with all of these movements, if you stand still, you're going backwards. We all know that. And just never stop assessing your situation. Never stop reading. Never stop looking at things that are going on out of camera, if you like. In this generation that we are in, people make comparisons, not just from if you're a restaurateur, whatever it is, they're not just comparing you to other restaurants. They're comparing you to how fast your service is, quality of food from farms, blah 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 blah. The stimulus sort of set is absolutely huge. And finally, and my absolute mantra is that of all of these things, it's people that make the difference. It's people that make things happen. It's people that make AI, machine learning, and all that kind of computer-based stuff happen. It's those people are programming it in certain sorts of ways to certain sorts of ends. But it's people, your friends, your colleagues, your customers, just general people, and obviously the people who are making progress and making us safe at the NHS and the key workers are the most incredible bunch. They don't have time to think about where lunch is coming from. They're just dedicated to looking after us and stuff, and I think they're hopefully going to maintain their position at the centre of our society. Time will be our judge. We'll see how it kind of goes, but that's kind of an overview of what I think the top sort of things I've learned anyway, and I hope some of that is helpful for yourself. Thanks very much for watching. Cheerio, bye.